The sky above the barren planet was a strange shade of green, streaked with violet clouds that moved slowly like thick rivers. Far below, in the middle of a wide rocky plain, stood the alien research station. It was massive, built from black metal that shimmered slightly in the dim light. Strange towers rose from its base, each humming quietly with unknown energy. This was not a place meant for humans, yet today one human child would be brought here, and the aliens did not expect what was about to happen. Inside the station, the aliens moved with precise, careful steps. They were tall, with thin limbs and long fingers that ended in delicate claws. Their skin was smooth, pale, and slightly translucent, and their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. They were the best bioengineers in this part of the galaxy, and today, they were testing their newest creation, a beast designed to be the perfect predator. The beast itself was unlike anything a human had ever seen. It was enormous, larger than a human house, with thick armored scales and muscles that seemed to ripple even when it stood still. Its head was crowned with sharp, jagged horns, and its teeth were long and pointed. Its eyes glowed red, showing intelligence as well as raw power. The aliens had bred it for one purpose: to obey and to destroy anything the aliens commanded it to destroy. The human child was brought in a small, transparent containment pod. The pod floated gently on a magnetic field, carrying the child through the station's corridors. The child looked small and fragile beside the towering aliens. Dark hair fell across their forehead, and big, curious eyes scanned the strange environment. Fear flickered across the child's face, but it did not grow into panic. Instead, the child studied everything: the smooth walls, the glowing lights, the shadowy corners where the aliens moved. "Release it," one alien said, its voice like a soft vibration. The words echoed strangely in the chamber, carrying authority. The child's heart beat faster, but not with fear. The child had faced challenges before, challenges much harder than this, on a small blue planet called Earth. And though this place was dangerous, the child knew something deep inside. Fear was only powerful if one let it be. The great metal doors of the enclosure opened slowly. A hiss of air filled the room, followed by a low growl that vibrated through the floor. The beast stepped forward. Each movement deliberate and controlled, its claws scraped against the metal floor, leaving deep grooves behind. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something more. Ancient, primal. The aliens watched closely, their glowing eyes filled with expectation. They expected the beast to leap, to roar, to tear the human apart in moments. That was what predators did. That was what this beast had been bred for. And yet, the child did not scream. The child did not try to run. Instead, the child stood perfectly still. The beast stopped a few meters away and tilted its massive head. Its red eyes studied the child, scanning every movement, every twitch of the hand, every blink. A low rumble came from its chest, but it was not a roar. It was a sound of curiosity. "Impossible," muttered one alien, barely able to believe what they were seeing. Another shook its head, clicking its mandibles nervously. "The human is calm. It should be terrified. The beast should strike immediately." The child took a careful step forward, raising one hand slowly. Not to threaten, but to show trust. The aliens gasped. No human had ever dared approach one of their beasts like this. The beast growled softly, a sound that could shake mountains if it wanted to, but it did not. It watched the child. Slowly, the child knelt down on one knee, keeping eyes level with the creature's enormous head. The child spoke in a soft, calm voice, words in a language the beast did not know. But the tone, the rhythm, the care in the voice seemed to reach the creature. One of the younger aliens whispered, "It is communicating. But how? The human has no training, no technology." nothing to control it. The child reached out a small hand, not touching the beast, but held it near the beast's massive snout. The beast sniffed the air, its glowing red eyes narrowing. Its tail lashed behind it, sending small rocks flying, but it did not attack. Minutes passed. The room was silent except for the beast's rumble and the faint hum of the station. The aliens could feel tension building. They expected chaos. They expected carnage. What they were seeing instead was nothing. A small human child, fearless, standing in front of the deadliest predator they had ever created. The child's mind was working quickly. Humans had a unique way of dealing with animals, the child remembered from stories told long ago. Animals, even the most dangerous ones, could sense fear, but they could also sense calmness. They could sense trust. The child focused on that feeling, spreading it outward as if to tell the beast, "I am not your enemy. I mean no harm." The beast's rumble grew quieter, almost thoughtful. It moved slightly closer, testing, nudging the child with its nose. The child did not flinch. Instead, the child placed a small hand on the beast's armored scale, feeling the heat and strength beneath it. The beast froze for a moment, then lowered its massive head in a gesture that was almost gentle. The aliens were silent now, a mixture of disbelief and fear on their faces. One older alien muttered to another, It is bonding with it. The human is connecting. Connecting. That was a word none of them expected to hear. Humans were fragile. Humans were weak. Humans were unpredictable. And yet, here was a human, forming a bond with a creature designed for war. "Impossible," one alien said again. "No species can do this naturally. This should not be happening." The child stood slowly, eyes never leaving the beast's. The beast followed the movement with its head, almost like a guardian watching a friend. For the first time, the aliens saw something they had never expected. A human could influence a creature without weapons, without force, simply through courage, patience, and calm. The child spoke again, softly, and the beast made a sound that almost resembled understanding. Its tail stopped lashing, its claws no longer scraped the floor. The air between them was electric, but not in a dangerous way. It was alive, full of tension, yes, but also possibility. "Bring the training devices," one alien finally said, a mixture of anger and awe in its voice. The beast had not attacked. The human had survived the first encounter, and now the aliens were forced to see a new challenge, one they had never planned for. The child noticed small devices along the floor, tools used by the aliens to command or control creatures. The child carefully avoided them, understanding instinctively that the beast did not need these devices to act. It had its own intelligence, its own decisions. The child nodded slowly, as if agreeing silently with the beast. "We can do this together." The aliens continued to whisper. "We have underestimated them," said one. Another hissed, "Perhaps we should record everything." They could not yet understand the significance, but they knew this was the beginning of something unusual, something dangerous, in a way they had never calculated. Hours passed in the chamber. The child explored the edges, cautiously testing the beast's reactions. Every movement was careful, deliberate. Every glance measured. The beast watched, following, learning, and sometimes nudging gently to guide. By the time the first green light of the alien sun began to fade behind the jagged mountains, the child had achieved something no human, or any creature, had achieved before. A tentative, unspoken alliance with the deadliest predator the aliens had ever created. The aliens, watching silently from above, were astonished. Their expectations had been shattered. They had planned to witness destruction. They had planned to see human weakness. What they had seen instead was something remarkable. A display of human courage, intelligence, and empathy. And in that moment, the aliens began to understand that humans were unpredictable, uncontrollable, and perhaps more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Not because of strength or weapons or technology, but because of qualities no one could engineer: trust, bravery, and the ability to inspire loyalty even in the most fearsome of creatures. The child smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. The beast lowered its massive head to the floor and let out a soft, approving rumble. The connection was not complete, but it was enough for now. Enough to show that humans, even alone and small, could stand where the strongest beasts roamed and survive. The aliens withdrew, their glowing eyes still fixed on the scene. They would study this human, they would try to understand, and they would never forget the first time a human stood unafraid before their most fearsome creation and was not destroyed. For the human child, it was only the beginning. The world beyond the chamber was dangerous and unknown, but the child knew one truth that the aliens could not take away: courage, patience, and trust could overcome even the deadliest odds. And in this strange, hostile galaxy, that truth might be the most powerful weapon of all. The next morning, the alien research station was bathed in a strange, soft light. The violet clouds above the barren planet had shifted, stretching across the sky like ribbons of silk. Inside the chamber, the human child was already awake. The first rays of light fell on the massive beast, which now lay quietly, its red eyes dimmed, watching the child with something that almost looked like curiosity. The child rubbed their eyes and looked around. The events of the previous day replayed in the mind: the fear, the stillness, the moment when the beast had refused to attack. Most humans would have been terrified. Most humans would have cried or struggled. But the child had remained calm, had reached out, and had made the beast pause. And now, the child understood that this was only the beginning. The aliens were watching from their observation decks. They had called an emergency council, whispering and clicking among themselves. Their faces were tense. Their plans had failed spectacularly, and yet a strange fascination had begun to grow. The human child was not just surviving. The human was influencing the apex predator, forming a connection they could not understand or control. The child approached the beast cautiously, stepping over the grooves in the floor left by its claws. The massive creature shifted slightly, eyes following every step. Its head lowered, sniffing the air around the child. Slowly, the child extended a hand again, palm open. The beast inched forward, sniffing closer, and then, with a gentle nudge, pressed its nose against the child's hand. The child smiled faintly. "Good morning," the child whispered, soft enough for only the beast to hear. The alien scientists gasped at the display. One muttered, "It speaks. The human speaks, and the beast responds. How?" "No species should obey like this," said another, clicking its mandibles nervously. "It is a predator. It must attack. This is against all design." The child ignored them. There was no time for fear, no time for doubts. Only observation and patience. The child moved slowly around the beast, touching its scales lightly, testing its reactions. The beast shifted its massive head, letting out a low rumble, not in aggression, but in acknowledgement. The child remembered a lesson from Earth. Animals could sense feelings, could sense calm. They could sense fear and anger, but they could also sense confidence and trust. The human had no technology, no weapons, no control devices. But one thing the beast could not resist was patience and care. "Perhaps it recognizes trust," the older alien finally said, voice low. "Perhaps this human does something no one else can." Hours passed. The child moved carefully, circling the beast, talking softly, sometimes crouching, sometimes standing tall. The beast followed, never attacking, never showing aggression, but observing every movement. When the child paused, the beast paused. When the child knelt, the beast lowered its head to the floor. The bond was forming, invisible but undeniable. At one point, the aliens introduced a small challenge. A hovering platform appeared, carrying a glowing object. Their plan was simple: test the beast's obedience. The beast had been trained to fetch objects on command, to strike when directed. The humans should have been terrified, trapped, and powerless. The child studied the object and the platform. The beast stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly, ready to act at the alien's command. The child, however, spoke softly, raising a hand. "Wait," the child said. The beast stopped, head tilting in curiosity. It did not move closer. The aliens were furious. "It defies the command," one snapped. "It should strike immediately." But the child was calm. Slowly, the child walked toward the platform, then extended a hand. The beast moved closer, not out of fear, but in cooperation. Together, they approached the object. The child gently touched it, guiding the beast's massive paw to lift it from the platform. The beast obeyed, but only because the child led, not because of the alien's commands. A silence fell over the observation deck. No one had expected this. The human was not controlling the beast through fear, force, or technology. The child was guiding it through trust and understanding. Later, the child discovered something even more remarkable. The beast responded to gestures and subtle movements, almost as if it understood the human's intentions. A slight tilt of the head, a careful step forward, a hand placed on the scale. Each action was mirrored by the beast. They were learning from each other, adapting to each other. The child realized that if the beast could be guided, then perhaps it could also protect, help, or even think creatively alongside the human. The aliens watched in growing unease. One whispered to another, "This human is dangerous." Not because of strength, but because of unpredictability. It bends a predator without weapons or force. As the day went on, the bond grew stronger. The child began to explore the chamber, testing the limits of the beast's abilities. Rocks were moved, small obstacles overcome, and every time the beast responded with care rather than violence. Other alien scientists tried to intervene, using small commands or control devices, but the beast ignored them. Its loyalty was no longer to the aliens. It was now focused on the human child. The child smiled faintly, noticing the subtle signs of the beast's trust. A flick of the tail, a shift in posture, a low rumble in the chest. All these were communication. The child understood that words were unnecessary. Humans had the ability to connect without words, to inspire loyalty through actions and calm confidence. By the evening, the aliens had begun recording everything. They wanted to study the human, to understand this strange ability. But even as they watched, they felt a twinge of fear. Humans were unpredictable. They could be clever, brave, and resourceful in ways the aliens could not calculate. The human child had survived their deadliest creation, not by strength, not by weapons, but by courage, patience, and intelligence. The chamber grew quiet as the day ended. The child knelt beside the beast, gently touching its scales. The beast rested its massive head against the floor, rumbling softly, almost as if it were listening. The child whispered stories of Earth, of animals that had been trusted and loved, of humans who could survive against the odds. The beast listened, its glowing red eyes dimming to a soft amber. For the first time, the aliens felt a deep respect for humans. They had always considered humans weak, fragile, and expendable. But here was proof that humans were far more than that. A single human, small and young, had achieved what no alien or technology could: the ability to earn the trust of a creature bred for destruction. As night fell, the child lay down beside the beast. The scales were warm, the breathing steady, and for the first time, the child felt a sense of safety. The beast was no longer a threat. It was an ally, a companion, and a protector. The child drifted into sleep, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also knowing that they were not alone. High above, in the observation decks, the aliens continued their whispered debates. "We underestimated them," said one. "Perhaps we should reconsider our approach." Another clicked its mandibles nervously. "No species should have this influence. No species should bend a predator without weapons or force." But the truth was undeniable. Humans were unique. Humans were capable of courage and connection that no alien could replicate. And that realization, however frightening, was beginning to change the way the aliens thought about the galaxy. The night was quiet, but in the chamber, the bond between human and beast had solidified. Trust had been earned, loyalty had been given, and the aliens could only watch, unsure whether to admire or fear what they had witnessed. By morning, the child had a plan. The beast was powerful, yes, but the child knew that raw strength was not enough. To survive here, on this strange planet, they would need strategy, patience, and teamwork. The child trained the beast through small exercises, moving obstacles, retrieving objects, and learning to respond to gestures. Each success built confidence. Each failure taught lessons. The aliens observed in silence, astonished. Every step, every action of the human seemed to teach the beast something new. And with each passing hour, the child grew more confident, more clever, and more capable. By the end of the second day, it was clear. The human child was no longer just surviving. They were thriving. And the beast, once a tool of alien war, had become something new, a loyal companion, guided not by force, but by trust. The aliens had to admit it. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were resourceful. And perhaps, just perhaps, humans were more dangerous than any of them had ever imagined. Not because of weapons or strength, but because of courage, empathy, and the ability to inspire loyalty in even the deadliest of creatures. As the child looked at the beast, a small smile formed. Together, they would face whatever the aliens, or the galaxy, could throw at them. And in that moment, the human understood a truth that no alien could teach. In a universe full of fear and danger, courage and trust could be the greatest power of all. The third morning arrived quietly at the alien research station. The sky above the barren planet glowed with soft violet light, and the wind whispered across the rocky plain like a slow breath. Inside the main training chamber, the human child awoke beside the enormous beast. The creature opened its red eyes and rumbled softly, a greeting, not a threat. The child stretched, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Today felt different. Something in the air had changed. The aliens were preparing something new, something bigger. The child could sense it the moment the observation windows brightened with activity. High above, alien scientists hurried between control stations, their pale fingers tapping on glowing panels. Their expressions were tense. They had watched the human and beast bond, something they had never believed possible. Now they needed answers. Could the child truly guide this apex predator? Could the beast truly ignore its destructive instincts? The aliens wanted proof, and today they were going to test it. The test begins. The chamber doors opened with a deep metallic hum. Dozens of glowing drones floated inside, forming shapes in the air. Strange obstacles rose from the ground, pillars of metal, moving platforms, rotating barricades with bright lights. The child stared at the new environment, eyes widening. It looked like a maze built for giants. Every part of it seemed designed to test both strength and intelligence. One alien's voice echoed from the speakers above. "Human, today you will demonstrate your influence. You will guide the beast through our trial. If you succeed, we will observe further. If you fail—" The voice did not finish, but the meaning was clear. The child swallowed hard, then looked at the beast, placing a hand on its warm scales. "We can do this," the child whispered. The beast lowered its head, letting out a soft, confident rumble. The first challenge. The first obstacle was simple, but still dangerous. Large blocks of metal floated in the air, shifting constantly. Their edges were sharp, and each carried small sparks of energy. The child realized the task: guide the beast around the block safely. The aliens expected the child to shout orders or panic, but the child did neither. Instead, the child walked forward slowly, making sure the beast could follow, and lifted a hand to signal wait. The beast stopped instantly. The aliens watching gasped. "Impossible," one whispered. "It reacts to gestures alone." The child studied the shifting blocks carefully, noticing patterns in their movement. When there was a small gap, the child stepped forward and made a smooth, sweeping gesture. The beast responded perfectly, moving through the path like a massive shadow. Every alien in the room leaned forward at once. The child and the beast reached the end without a single injury. The second challenge. The next part of the trial was far more complex. 3 circular platforms floated above the ground. They spun slowly, glowing faintly with blue energy. Above them hovered metal orbs that occasionally shot small shocks of harmless but intimidating light. This time, the beast hesitated. Its tail swayed nervously. The child understood immediately. This challenge required trust and timing. "It's safe," the child whispered gently. "Follow me, step by step." The first platform shook lightly as the child stepped onto it. The beast tested it with one claw. The platform dipped but held. Slowly, carefully. The beast followed until both were balanced on the spinning disc. The child walked in front, moving calmly. The beast copied every motion carefully, matching the child's pace. Whenever an orb approached, the child raised a hand and the beast shifted slightly, avoiding the sparks. The aliens recorded every detail, unable to look away. One alien scientist whispered, "This is not obedience. This is cooperation." Another replied, "It is learning from the human, adapting." No alien had ever seen such behavior from their apex predator. The third challenge, a true threat. The final challenge arrived too soon. The chamber shook as the floor opened, revealing a second creature rising from below. This creature was smaller than the beast, but still terrifying, covered in dark spikes with glowing blue veins across its body. It was aggressive by design, meant to challenge even the strongest predators. The child gasped. The new creature growled, eyes locked on the human. The aliens had not planned for the child's safety. Their only goal was to see if the human's bond with the beast was strong enough to stop violence. The child felt fear for the first time since arriving. The new creature stepped forward, snarling, preparing to strike. The beast reacted instantly, its massive body shifting, claws digging into the floor. But it did not attack. It looked at the child first. The child realized something important. The beast would follow the child's lead. The decision was theirs. Slowly, the child raised both hands and stepped backward behind the beast. "Stay calm," the child whispered. The new creature lunged, and the beast moved, not to destroy, but to protect. It shifted sideways, blocking the child with its body. Its tail swept across the ground, pushing the attacking creature away without harming it. The aliens stared, stunned. "The beast protected the human," one muttered. "No beast has ever done that," another whispered. The fight grew intense. The smaller creature attacked again, faster this time. But the beast stepped forward, letting out a loud roar, not of anger, but of warning. It planted its claws in the ground, standing tall and imposing. The smaller creature paused, uncertain. The child took a step forward, heart pounding but voice calm. "Stop," the child said, repeating the gesture used earlier. The beast echoed the child's stance, lowering its head but keeping its body firm. To everyone's surprise, the smaller creature slowed, then backed away slightly, confused by the unexpected cooperation. The challenge was ending. Not through violence, not through force, but through teamwork and calm leadership. The child touched the beast's scales again. "You did amazing," the child whispered. The beast rumbled proudly. The aliens' reactions. High above, panic had begun to spread through the observation decks. "This is extraordinary," one alien said, trembling. "The child has reshaped the behavior of a war beast," another added. A third alien whispered quietly, "Humans are far more dangerous than we believed." Not because of weapons, not because of strength, but because of something the aliens could not engineer: connection, trust, adaptability. The child had not only survived the trials, the child had made the beast think, act, and respond in ways it never had before. The lead alien scientist clicked their mandibles slowly. "We must study the human further," it said. And then, quietly, "But we must also be careful. The human is unpredictable, and unpredictability can change the future of this station." A quiet moment. After the trials ended, the beast lowered its massive head beside the child. The child placed a hand on its nose, feeling the warm breath and low rumbling from its throat. "You're not dangerous," the child whispered. "You're just misunderstood." The beast closed its eyes, leaning into the child gently. The aliens watching felt something unexpected, a feeling they could not explain, a mix of confusion and respect. The beast had been designed for war, yet in the presence of a small human child, it had become calm, intelligent, loyal, and protective. No alien technology had ever achieved that, the demonstration's result. By the time the child left the chamber, escorted by alien guards, whispers filled the station corridors. "Did you see how it followed the human? It ignored our commands but listened to the child. The human is more powerful than we realized. Not in strength, in spirit." The child didn't understand all the fear or admiration in the alien's glowing eyes. The child only knew that something important had changed today. The bond with the beast was real, and the aliens could no longer deny it. But the child did not know what awaited next. The aliens' curiosity was growing deeper, so was their fear. And in the shadows of the station halls, a new plan was already forming, one that would test the child and the beast more than ever before. The chamber was quiet that morning. The violet clouds outside had thickened, casting long shadows across the barren planet. Inside, the human child and the massive beast stood near the center, calm but alert. Something in the air told the child that today would be different. The aliens had been watching carefully. They were both fascinated and uneasy. The child had proven something extraordinary over the past days, an unspoken bond with a creature meant for destruction. But now the aliens wanted to see how far it could go. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber. The floor trembled slightly. From the shadows, a new threat emerged, a massive wall of moving machinery armed with spikes and cutting edges, sliding toward the center of the chamber. The aliens had activated a dangerous test, a mechanical predator designed to challenge both strength and intelligence. The child stepped forward instinctively. They could feel the ground shake beneath their feet. The beast growled, a low rumble that shook the walls, its glowing red eyes focused on the approaching threat. The child reached out and placed a hand on the beast's warm scales. "We can do this," the child whispered. The beast responded with a deep rumble, standing tall and ready. The threat approaches. The machinery moved faster. The spikes gleamed and the sound of grinding metal filled the chamber. The aliens watched from above, expecting the human to panic. They expected the beast to attack, or worse, fail. But the child stayed calm. Step by step, the child moved backward, guiding the beast into a safer position. Every motion was deliberate. Every gesture was precise. The beast mirrored the child's actions. It shifted its massive body to block the mechanical threat, using its size and strength to shield the human. Sparks flew from the machines as claws scraped metal, but the child was safe. The aliens whispered among themselves. One of them said, "The human leads it. The beast is following instructions from the child, not from us." Another replied, "It's impossible. No human should be able to do this." But it was happening. Strategy and teamwork. The child quickly analyzed the situation. The mechanical predator was too fast and too strong to face head-on. They needed strategy. The child guided the beast to a narrow section of the chamber, where the machinery had limited movement. Using hand signals and calm gestures, the child directed the beast to push and block, while the child moved swiftly to activate a control panel. The beast understood immediately. Its massive claws hit the machines with careful precision, not crushing them completely, but slowing their progress. Every move was coordinated, every action synchronized. The child ran from one control panel to another, while the beast followed, blocking attacks and creating opportunities. The aliens gasped. Their most advanced mechanical predator was being neutralized, not by technology, but by the combination of human intelligence and the beast's strength. This is learning," one alien muttered. "The beast adapts, and the human predicts its movements." Another added quietly, "We underestimated them. Humans are unpredictable, and perhaps unstoppable." A dangerous moment. Suddenly, one of the machines broke free. It surged forward faster than expected, targeting the child. The beast reacted instantly, lunging in front to protect its small companion. Its massive body blocked the machine, absorbing the impact with powerful muscles and armored scales. Sparks flew, but the child was unharmed. The human knelt beside the beast, whispering in calm tones, steadying both themselves and the creature. The mechanical threat paused, confused by the unexpected teamwork. The aliens were silent, watching in disbelief. No human had ever controlled a predator this way. No human had ever survived such a challenge. And yet, here was proof that courage, intelligence, and connection could achieve the impossible. The turning point. The child noticed a weak point in the machinery. A glowing panel blinked irregularly, revealing a flaw in the system. The child pointed to it, signaling the beast to act. The beast understood immediately. It lifted a massive paw and pushed the panel with careful force, breaking the mechanism. Sparks flew, smoke rose, and the machinery ground to a halt. The aliens watched in astonishment. Their test had failed. Not because of weakness, but because a human had combined courage, intelligence, and trust to overcome the impossible. The child stepped forward and spoke softly to the beast. "We did it. We're safe." The beast rumbled deeply, a sound of approval and pride, its massive head lowered toward the child, gently nudging them with its nose. The aliens' astonishment. For a long moment, silence filled the observation decks. The aliens could not move. They could not speak. Their calculations, predictions, and expectations had all been shattered. The human child had not only survived, they had succeeded in a challenge that was designed to be fatal. And the beast, a creature bred for war and destruction, had become a loyal protector. One alien finally spoke, voice trembling with awe. "The human has qualities we cannot measure: courage, intelligence, empathy, leadership, all in one being." Another added quietly, We have underestimated the humans for too long, perhaps too long to recover. The aliens realized something important. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and capable of forming connections with even the most dangerous creatures. They could think, plan, and act under pressure in ways no technology could replicate. For the first time, the aliens felt a deep respect for humans, not as weak, fragile beings, but as beings of incredible potential. The human advantage. The child stood beside the beast, breathing slowly, feeling the warmth of its body. Together they looked at the defeated mechanical threat. The child realized something important. Survival was not only about strength or weapons, it was about courage, intelligence, teamwork, and trust. The beast had followed the child's lead, but the child had also learned from the beast. Each obstacle had been overcome through careful observation, patience, and understanding. Humans could teach and inspire loyalty, even in creatures bred for destruction. This was the true power of humans, a power the aliens had never measured, never expected, and could never replicate. A lesson for the aliens. The aliens began to gather quietly. They did not intervene because they knew this display was something beyond their control. The human had proven a truth they could not deny. Humans were not weak. Humans were not helpless. Humans were courageous, intelligent, and capable of inspiring loyalty in the most fearsome of creatures. The lead alien scientist clicked its mandibles slowly. We must record this. Every detail, every move, every decision. This species, is extraordinary. Other aliens nodded silently. Even their technology and calculations had failed to predict the outcome. And that failure was humbling. The child had turned the aliens' expectations upside down. The beast, once a weapon of war, had become a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. A moment of calm. The chamber fell silent. The mechanical threat was destroyed. The beast lay beside the child, calm and steady. The child stroked the warm scales, whispering softly. "You were amazing," the child said. "We did it together." The beast responded with a deep, vibrating rumble. Its red eyes glowed faintly, softer now, filled with a sense of pride and trust. Outside, the aliens were still silent. They had witnessed a human achieve something no alien machine or weapon could accomplish. They understood, finally, that humans were not to be underestimated. The departure. Later, the child was led out of the chamber by the aliens. The beast followed, obedient yet loyal, staying close to the child's side. The aliens watched in awe, realizing that this bond was stronger than anything they could have predicted or controlled. One alien whispered to another, "We cannot contain humans. Not with weapons, not with technology, not even with fear." Another replied, "Perhaps we should study them. Carefully. Their unpredictability, it is their strength." The child looked back at the chamber once, smiling faintly. The lessons of courage, trust, and teamwork had been learned. The beast had become more than a predator. It was a companion, a protector, and a friend. And the aliens? They had learned a new lesson as well. The human spirit, small and fragile in appearance, could surpass the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. The human triumph. As the child and the beast left the chamber, the sun of the alien planet rose higher. Its light shimmered on the rocky plains and the massive station towers. The child knew this was only the beginning. Challenges would come. Dangers would rise, but now they had something greater than strength. They had courage, they had intelligence, they had loyalty. They had the ability to turn even a weapon of war into a friend. And in that moment, the galaxy began to realize something important. Humans were extraordinary, not because they were the strongest, not because they had the most advanced technology, but because they could inspire trust, act with courage, and survive against impossible odds. The aliens would never forget this day. The child would never forget this day, and the beast would never forget the human who had earned its trust. The universe had changed quietly, forever.